latest So Connect part of the IT group webinar. Our last one was back in March, where we focused on cybersecurity. So today we're going to talk about future-proofing your IT and embracing Microsoft AI, otherwise known as Copilot. So this will really be covering the whole journey in IT in terms of your future-proofing to do with various different aspects that we'll introduce as we work through the slides. So first of all, introductions. My name's Gordon Sayers. I'm the Managing Director of Air IT Scotland. We have recently changed, if you like. We're going through a transition. I previously So Connect, that's still the branding we're operating mainly under. We were acquired by Air IT about 3 months ago, who have a national presence. We're going to maintain the local delivery and account management within Scotland and continue providing the great service that we always have done to our customers. And I will pass you on to Charlie Harris to give her introduction.
Hey, thank you so much for having me, guys. And thanks, everyone. Good to see you all. So yeah, my name's Charlie Harris. I'm a partner development manager at Microsoft. My role is basically to accelerate Microsoft's strategic partner growth and drive AI transformation. I've been at Microsoft nearly 10 years, I think, and super passionate about making sure that our partners and customers have the right tools from Microsoft and the right resources to help go and grow their businesses. And I'll pass to Gary.
Thanks, Charlie. Hi, good morning, everyone. I'm Gary Puddick, Senior Account Manager at So Connect. I've been with the business since it was launched back in 2011, primarily serving and servicing telephony and connectivity services to our customers. And I'm going to be talking today a little bit about the big voice switch off, which hopefully some or all of you will be aware of.
That's great. Thank you, Gary. Yeah, lots to learn. Hopefully this will be a good informative session for everyone. So a quick review of our agenda. First of all, we're going to talk about why IT resilience matters, and we'll cover that in the slides. As Gary mentioned, the great PSTN Switch Off, Public Switched Telephone Network. I think that stands for, if I'm up to date on my terminology. Gary can give a bit more detail of that. Windows 10 end of life, transforming your business with AI, which is on everybody's lips and has been for the last 2 or 3 years, but is really more relevant now. And then a discussion about Microsoft Copilot and the features and benefits from it, and that will be led largely by Charlie. So, as we all know, IT is constantly evolving and has been since really the end of the Second World War. Some of this information which Claire researched, and a quick thank you to Claire Anderson, our marketing team lead. She's done a huge amount of work putting these slides together. So 1946, the first general purpose computer was launched, and was really, I suppose, the very start of the computing revolution, although it took a wee while for it to really take off and build momentum. Birth of the internet in 1969, introduction of the IBM personal computer, PC, in 1981, so we're galloping on through the years. 1995 was the launch of Windows 95, making personal computing accessible. So I unfortunately can remember Windows 95. I'm afraid I'm old enough to do so. It was pretty good at the time, and we've moved on leaps and bounds from there. But every iteration of Microsoft Windows does have some similarities to the last, which is, I think, what's made it have its longevity that it has, and we'll go into that a lot bit more in due course. Introduction of the iPhone in 2007. I can still remember those coming out, and they were new and shiny, and you only had one if you were either really well off or really want to tackle technology head on. 2020, the growth of cloud computing and AI, I mean, that feels to me like a long time ago, but it's only 4 years ago. And there's been this. I don't think we can underestimate the significance of the advancements in cloud computing and AI and just IT in general over the last 4 years. And of course, 2022, ChatGPT reached 1 million users in 5 days, and the scale and the speed of evolution there, I think, is plain for all to see. And then the graph underneath shows how much more quickly those numbers increased. And Charlie, I'm not sure if you want to have a little bit of input there.
Yeah, I mean, you've covered this really well. It's just about the pace of change. I think if you look at the internet, the internet took 7 years to get to 100 million users. ChatGPT took 3 months. So it's just the pace of which technology is changing is getting so much faster now. But yeah, no, I think you've covered it really well.
Thank you. And of course, that means that the pace of change, if it's if ChatGPT got to 100 million in 3 months, then what does the future look like? And I think something that we've all just got to consider, not just how it affects our working lives, because that's what we all need to do to pay the bills, but how's it going to affect our home lives and how we just live our lives in general? I don't think we can underestimate that at all. Keeping business focused, 92% of businesses see technology as critical to their survival. I've got to say I would be concerned about the 8% that don't, because no matter what industry you're in, technology surely is something that you can't do without these days. Especially if we see the internet and how you connect to it as technology, which for me it is. So relevant conversations that we're having today. Why resilient IT strategy matters? Well, I think to be competitive and to try and really compete against your competitors in the market and your rivals in the marketplace, making sure that you're covered in all aspects of IT is really, really important. So business continuity, simple things like backup. Do you have a disaster recovery plan? As you get a bit bigger, have you got a business continuity plan, which is slightly different? Protecting against cyber threats, everybody will be aware of that. It gets talked about every day. There's almost not a week goes past without some large organizations having some sort of attack. So everyone down to the smallest SMEs need to make sure they're protecting themselves. Adopting to evolving technology, that's largely what today's going to be about. The fastest evolving technology just now is obviously AI, and enhancing operational efficiency. So how can you work better and smarter using IT? And there's that's where your IT support or MSP, managed service provider, would come in, just to help you understand which technologies to use, how to optimize what you have so that you've got minimal downtime and your employees can all work at their most efficient. Upcoming IT disruptions, we've got Windows 10 end of life, which we're going to be talking about today, and that's October 2025. That might seem like a reasonably long way away. It's not. It'll be around the corner before we know it. And then the great PSTN Switch Off. So our old traditional telephone lines, that technology is being switched off to replaced by fibre optic across the UK, and everyone needs to be prepared for that. And Gary, I'll hand over to you to talk about just that very topic.
Thank you, Gordon, and good afternoon again, everybody, and thanks again for attending this webinar today. It's good to have you all. As I mentioned at the beginning, I've been with SoConnect since the beginning of the company. So the business was launched back in 2011, which does feel like an awful long time ago now. As those of you who know us will be aware, we were originally set up as a connectivity and a voice business, mainly providing internet and telephony services. But over time, and thanks to a couple of strategic acquisitions, we evolved into what we are now, being a full-blown MSP, with these services being part of our overall customer service wrap alongside managed IT and cybersecurity. So today I've been asked to speak to you about what Gordon's just mentioned, being the big PSTN Switch Off. This is also known as the big switch off, or also often referred to as the WLR switch off, WLR standing for wholesale line rental. As you may know, Openreach is the entity who install and maintain the majority of the UK's phone line infrastructure. And back in 2017-18, they announced that they would be withdrawing standard phone lines from service at the end of next year, 2025, as the network was becoming antiquated and uneconomical to maintain. The original plan was to digitize the network and do away with old analog infrastructure, as has recently been completed in Germany, which is another country that's gone through this process in the recent past. I should add at this point, this deadline has recently been extended to January of 2027. So true to form, Openreach have actually overrun on their deadlines. So there are effectively 13 additional months to make the transition, although, as I'll explain, our advice still remains to act sooner rather than later. There are primarily two types of line affected by the big switch off. So ISDN lines are the first type. These typically serve on-premise legacy traditional type phone systems. But more importantly, in my opinion, is PSTN lines, which you will all know as basic analog lines that most of us have at home, terminating in a white line socket. So the bigger part of Openreach is the regrade of that type of line, since there are many more of those lines in service, with most of them delivering a broadband product over the line. So what does this mean for you as an end user? Well, since September of last year, 2023, it's no longer possible to order legacy lines or broadband. So the lines that I've been selling since the get-go of the business, I can't provide anymore. It's not possible to do that. If you have ISDN lines serving conventional on-premise telephony, you will need to move to a voice over IP telephony product, either a hosted VoIP or a SIP product. SIP, if you don't know, is basically a virtual ISDN line. The same applies to PSTN lines, and if these are carrying a broadband product, you will need to regrade to one of these new broadband services. Can I get the next slide, please, Gordon? Thank you. So those new services are twofold. One, essentially, without wanting to bore you all with terminology today, but one is essentially the same fibre over last mile copper product that many of us already have, but data only, meaning that you can't connect an analog phone to the line socket and make or receive calls. The other type being pure fibre broadband, known as fibre to the premises, or FTTP for short, which we're all seeing advertised very heavily on the TV at the moment by the likes of EE and Sky especially. Availability of either product is subject to location, with FTTP generally being favoured on account of faster speeds and low cost. The original line number is generally moved to a voice over IP telephony service for use over the new broadband connection. Despite the recent deadline extension, we are recommending to all our customers that the PSTN switch off is addressed sooner rather than later, since many businesses are still unaware of Openreach's plans. There has been a degree of press coverage in the recent past, but those of us in the industry remain more in the know than the general public. And my feeling is that once the mainstream media start pressing the panic button about the deadline next year, carnage could well ensue. Openreach are not known for their reliability or their customer service skills, and we're already seeing issues with installations of the new broadband products. The advice is therefore to act as soon as possible and ensure your business is future-proofed. Your ISP will be able to advise and guide you on this, and we can also naturally assist if required. With the increased reliance on cloud services, connectivity has become effectively the fourth utility, and it's now a core part of any business's IT infrastructure. Obviously, without it, there is effectively no IT. So ensuring your business is able to transition to one of the new broadband products as seamlessly and as painlessly as possible, alongside any transition to Windows 11 with adoption of AI, these should all be at the forefront of your current IT strategy. This is the value add we offer as an MSP with these issues, framing our conversations with customers at the present time. At this point, I'll hand back to you, Gordon, to elaborate further on Windows 10 end of life and AI with Charlie. But if any of you would like to speak to me about any concerns or challenges you have around the PSTN switch off, do let me know.
Gary, that's great. Thank you. Very informative. And hopefully, if there's one of the 2 or 3 things people take away from today is talking or helping educate people about this PSTN switch off. It's one of these things that there's a great danger that people walk blindly into, as Gary says, the carnage that may happen during 2026 when everyone panics. So we can't operate all our amazing technology and advancements without the internet. So it's something everyone needs to be aware of. Looking ahead to Windows 10 end of life. So every version of Windows, of Microsoft Windows, has had an end of life. It's just a natural evolution of the operating system and how we use it. Each new version has additional features and enhancements and capabilities that allow people to do even more, either during their home life or, as we're talking about today, working life. At the end of the supported period, and this is the key bit, there are no more security updates or technical support supplied by Microsoft, which makes any device that's will be running Windows 10 past October next year, more vulnerable to security threats and compliance issues. So, as we do with all of our customers, we are trying to get ahead of this, similar to what we've just talked about with the PSTN switch off, and make sure that our customers are prepared, not just in terms of having the right operating system, but financially, that they've got a year and 3 or 4 months to plan for the end of life, so they can replace devices that are going to be out of support. As the four boxes there show, the danger of using the unsupported operating system, no security patches, applications are vulnerable to bugs, it will potentially crash more, and there will be compatibility issues going forward, especially with a lot of the cybersecurity requirements that are in the marketplace these days. What we have in front of us is the fact that Windows 10 is used by twice as many people as Windows 11. So there's a lot of work to do within the community to make sure that that every business, or as many businesses as possible, are ready for the end of Windows 10 and have got Windows 11 in place in their devices. Moving on to the next slide, just to talk about why Windows 11 is a good operating system to move to anyway. It's got enhanced security. It will give you improved performance, even on some older machines, as long as they're not any more than about 3 or 4 years old. The interface is definitely more user-friendly. Microsoft have been working to make it an easier interface to work with over the years. And of course, there are always new features getting added to Windows. Some of those, of course, are what we're here to talk about today, or one of the key ones is Copilot. So, the key takeaway from the last couple of slides is thinking about what you have in your IT estate as a business. How much of your IT estate is Windows 10, and have a plan in place over the next 13, 14 months to upgrade or replace those machines. So if you've got a machine that's only a year or 2 old and it's running Windows 10, you can upgrade that to Windows 11. If it's an older device, it's often going to make more economic sense to actually replace it with a Windows 11 machine. This is all, of course, part of your IT resilience. Everything contributes towards that resilience, and by planning ahead on all aspects of your business, and IT in particular, because that's what we're talking about today, by planning ahead to make sure that your estate is in the best place possible, it means that you're going to be able to have just maybe a little bit more opportunity on your side, and allow you to your business and the IT that's running within it to cope with changes that are coming in the market and make better use of things like Copilot and AI. So over to you, Charlie.
Cool, thank you. I've just taken control of you as well, I think.
That's fine.
So, yeah, I think, Gordon, Gary, you've made some really good points here around talking about future-proofing, and there's definitely some really key technology areas that our customers need to focus on to make sure they're modernizing. And like you said, modernizing here helps you get on the path to actually taking advantage of AI. So I've got about 10-15 minutes, I think, to talk about Copilot. I could probably talk for hours, so if I do, just wave and tell me to be quiet, please. But before I go into Copilot, I just want to ground ourselves in AI and transformation in AI. So how we see it and how we're looking at it now is AI it's going to impact every person, it's going to impact every organization, it's going to impact every team, it's going to impact every company, every industry, and it's doing that right now. So Gordon, you covered the kind of the technology transitions we've had over the years. If you think about how internet changed how we access information, how mobile phones, and particularly say the iPhone, put the internet in our pocket. But we've had these kind of advances in technology throughout the years that they change how we work, play, communicate, travel, work. It's been changing how we do everything, and AI is doing that right now. We work with customers and we work with different organizations to understand what are the opportunities that sit there around AI. And these are kind of these 4 areas that you really need to be thinking about when you're thinking about how do I take advantage of AI within my own business. So if you think about enriching employee experiences, so think about making your employees more productive. Think about empowering them to do the best work. Think about how you drive their well-being, how you drive the right culture within your business, and how you make sure that you're both attracting and retaining the best talent for your organizations. Think about customer engagement and business processes. So every single time you have a touch point with a customer, you are learning about that customer. Think about every process that you're running throughout your business being reshaped. Think about how you can streamline your business processes, how you can support in your decision making, how you can make every single experience that a customer has with your organization the best experience that they can have, and make those customers really, really sticky to you. And then finally, kind of bending the curve on innovation. So this is using your imagination a little bit. So everyone here, all your organizations, you want to grow, you want to add more customers, you want to grow your revenue, you want to grow your share of wallet, you want to increase your customer services, and so on. So, and finally, and also you want to beat your competitors, you want to do all of that, and you want to win against the competition. So have a think about how you can actually really bend the curve and reinvent your businesses using AI. And this is where SoConnect come in, because they can help you do that and help you have that plan, as Gordon said, and that plan and that conversation. So I just want to talk about some stats quickly. So there's a piece of research, a broad piece of research, or it's like a scale study that Microsoft do. I think it's about twice a year we're doing them, called the Work Trend Index, and I 100% recommend going and having a look at this online. If you've got about 10 minutes to have a read of some of the top line stats, but this is particularly focused, and it's like we look at about 30,000 people across the globe, and it's really looking at what are the trends that are influencing how we work. The most recent study came out earlier this year, and it has some really interesting stats. So you can see here 75% of people are already using AI at work, and that rate's doubled over the last 6 months alone. So if you think of the volume of work, email, chats, everything that we've got coming in to all of us, we all struggle with this. This got exponentially worse when we all went to working at home and we were online all the time, and that rate has never slowed down. I know for me that rate has never actually slowed down, but I'm actually starting to go back out again. But this kind of intense pace of work, people find overwhelming, and what they're doing is they're looking for tools that will help them in making that easier for them. Take out some of those mundane activities, take out some of that repetitiveness, and actually allow them to be more creative, more productive, more efficient. And actually what we've found is people that are wanting to use these AI tools at work, they're not waiting for their organizations to do it, they're bringing them with them. So remember the bring your own device a few years ago? This is bring your own AI. So this is what's happening now. And these individuals within these organizations, they're bringing their own AI. It's not checked, it's not controlled, it's not managed by the organization, and people are potentially putting corporate data into these tools. And the favorite question I always ask is, how many people are using ChatGPT at work? And I'm always sad at how many people put their hands up, because it's not the data that you put into ChatGPT is being used to train the model. It's not secure. The easiest thing you can do as an organization right now is to switch on, because there's a free version of Copilot that used to be called Bing Chat Enterprise. And if you upgrade to Windows 11, as Gordon says, it appears on your bottom right on your desktop. And if you've got a new laptop like I have, it's actually got a Copilot button built into it, so you can just hit the button now instead of the Windows button. As long as once that's set up, as long as you've got that green shield on the Copilot, that means it's protected and the data stays within your tenant. So you can ask it to draft emails for you. You can ask it to do things that you would ask ChatGPT to do, but it's actually secure because it's all within your organization. So number one action out of this meeting is to go and make sure you've got that set up. And actually, if we move on quickly, so we talk about, I've just mentioned kind of employees are driving AI tools and they're bringing AI tools into the organization. Oh, this just needs to click. There we go. But actually, the organizations themselves, as we said, are far behind. So if we look at this same study that we did, found that 80% of leaders within businesses know that AI is imperative. They know they need it to stay competitive, but actually 60% of them don't have a plan, they don't have a vision, they don't really know what to do with it. And then the same 60% are kind of still worried about how they start to quantify some of those benefits to go and justify the investments that they're making. So this is where this is where you work with SoConnect and you say to them, right, we need to build out our AI strategy together, and SoConnect, Gordon and Gary and the team can help you build out what that plan looks like and make sure you've got the right tools to go and start you leveraging AI. And the number one tool that most customers will start with is Copilot for 365. So this is not the free one I mentioned earlier. This is the paid version. So this is your $30 per user per month, paid on an annual basis. And there's absolutely tons of advantages that I could talk about for Copilot for 365, but just to keep it really, really high level, I'll run you through what's on here. So one, it's integrated into the apps that you're using every day. So think Word, PowerPoint, Teams, Outlook, and how you use it is the same across all of those different applications, and they work together and you can work between them as well. So super, super seamless, super easy to understand. It understands your context. So it takes about 3 months to get to know you. And what it's doing is it's looking at your graph as part of your M365, and it's using that to understand you. Then what it can do is that they can deliver more personalized, more relevant information back to you. So the most famous one we hear and customers know is the kind of sound like me. When you write an email and you ask it to write an email that sounds like you, it's because it understands how you write and it can sound like you. Thinking about extending your business data, so you don't just necessarily have to use Copilot within the like Word, PowerPoint, Excel, and so on. You can actually connect it to first-party, third-party apps. I think of like an ERP or a CRM system, and there's also a ton of other connectors that you can look at and just understand what apps within your organization can we actually connect it to. So then you can start to use the Copilot abilities within some of those third-party apps as well. Copilot can be customized. So we've got something called Copilot Studio. So we know like all customers are different. So this is a really kind of low code, no code way to actually create your own Copilot. There are other ways, there's more technical ways as well. But Copilot Studio is a really nice, easy way to get started. And then security, Gordon touched on security earlier. So Copilot inherits all these security from M365, including things like permissions, policies, admin controls. So a user that had Copilot license would not be able to access anything that they wouldn't otherwise have access to by using Copilot. So the most common example we hear is like, what is the CEO's salary, for example. If that person did not have access to that document anyway, they would not be able to find it in Copilot. So it's making sure all that underlying security is in place. And this is where, as Gordon was saying, having the latest software, the latest Windows, will make sure that you're protected in the right way to be able to leverage all these tools in the right way. And then finally, measuring impact. So we give you some tools. We give you some tools like Copilot Lab, which helps you with prompting. We give you the Learning Academy, which means you can do some skilling and adoption training. And then there's also the Copilot dashboard, which allows you as an admin to see who's using it, who's not, like daily users, monthly users, weekly users, and then making sure that you're then directing the skilling towards the right teams and focusing on the right areas to make sure everyone's utilizing it in the right way. And then Copilot's not very old. It's only probably about 18 months old actually as a product, and we only released it to all customers in January, so it's really still very new. But what we're starting to see is some customers get some real benefit out of utilizing Copilot. And if you have a look at Microsoft Customer Stories, you can filter on Copilot and you can actually start to have a look at how some different organizations are using it. But as kind of a general broad brush, we saw customers saving time in kind of these 4 key areas. So less time sorting through emails, less time on mundane tasks, less time looking for information, and getting to that first draft faster. And actually, I've been using it since November, and I would say I would 100% agree with all of those. But the couple I would probably add is Copilot in Teams is an absolute game changer. So being able to join a meeting and hit Copilot means that I don't have to make notes, because I would normally be a very extensive note taker in meetings. I now can focus on the person that I'm having the meeting with, and I can rely on Copilot to create all the notes for me, and then it can create a nice little follow-up email as well, so I don't have to go then and then write that follow-up email. At the same time, if I were to miss a meeting, which does happen, we all miss meetings, and we all say, I'm going to watch the follow-up, and how many of us do actually really genuinely go back and watch the whole follow-up? So if you miss that meeting and it's recorded, or someone's had Copilot on it, then what you can do is you can have a look through the notes and you can have a look through the actions. You can then decide, do I need to watch it now, or do I actually need to watch it at all? I can just action it based off of those notes. So helpful. That saves a huge amount of time. And the first draft here as well, actually, I find, and I think quite a few people find this, is you get kind of a bit of writer's block when you're starting a blank email and you think, oh, I don't know how to position this. So actually writing this in Copilot, and it makes me sound far more eloquent than I actually am, because I tend to find I'm probably quite short and quite blunt on emails, but this actually helps bring more clarity to the emails that I'm sending. So absolutely rate all this plus some extras as well. And then finally for me, I need to move it on quickly. Most customers, most people right now will probably be able to put Copilot on their machines. They'll be able to buy the licenses. They'll have the underlying licenses. But what we would always recommend is I would probably start with Business Premium or E3, depending on your customer size. Just because of the amount of apps and the amount of capability and security you've got, at least in Business Premium, and then E3 you obviously get more, just as a standard. And that's where we're finding customers are having the best experience. And then Copilot's not something you just switch it on, you buy a license, you switch it on and like, yep, it's going to do all my work for me now. It definitely doesn't work like that. Like Gordon and Gary were saying earlier, you need to have a plan in place. You need to understand what your broader AI strategy is. It takes human change. It takes a change of habit to actually deploy Copilot, and that needs to come from a leadership perspective. So you guys as leaders within your organizations need to be driving that change down, and then focusing on what does that deployment plan look like? What's this? Are we happy with the security and the policies that we've got wrapped around our documentation and our data? Who are we going to deploy to first? How are we going to do that? How are we going to monitor that? How are we going to make sure that we get everyone using this in the right way and actually maximizing our investment? So this is where SoConnect come in, and they can help you build that out with you. I think that's me done. So Gordon, we go back to you. Yeah.
Yes, certainly. Charlie, thank you very much for your input there. Very informative. You clearly have got quite a head start on the rest of us for your use of Copilot, given that you've been using it since November. And hopefully, if there's one thing that everyone took from that was that the power that exists within Copilot and its use, which for some may be a bit daunting, but certainly the opportunity that it presents, hopefully people can see that it is significant, but it definitely needs planning. So our advice would be that if you haven't started using it yet, and you do have Windows 11, as Charlie suggested, enable Copilot, start maybe just testing it a little bit, but get some proper advice and planning behind how you implement it. So as this transition slide says, managing changes, embracing new tech can be challenging. Yes, it is. Anytime that we do bring in something new to any organization, we generally have to put a bit of planning behind that to make sure that we understand how to use the new technology. And the last thing we want to do is have new technology of any kind come in and reduce the efficiency of what we're doing. And our advice would be that if you're going to start using Copilot, and I think we all will be using it, whether we like it or not in the not too distant future, is to prepare for that and get some kind of training in what you're doing. So tied into all the other things we've talked about today, looking at the PSTN switch off and making sure you've got the right internet capability within your business, preparing for this change from Windows 10 to Windows 11. Windows 10 was a significant change from Windows 7, and we've certainly seen the adoption of Windows 10 was higher than it was for Windows 7 across the board. And now we need to move people on to the next iteration. Windows 11's probably an easier change than it was from Windows 10, but everybody needs to plan for these things, as we've talked about. And your IT managed service provider, like SoConnect and Air IT, is there to help guide you through any change. Talk to you about the strategy behind it. So even what seems like a relatively straightforward moving from Windows 10 to Windows 11, you really need to have a strategy behind that, if nothing else, so that financially you can manage to spread that cost evenly, make sure your entire estate is on the same operating system, and take advantage of the additional functionality you get with that. Training is absolutely essential to adopting any new technology. We provide training regularly, in particular when we're moving customers onto SharePoint Online. We do quite a lot of these IT transformation projects, and to be able to get the best use out of new technology, you need to make sure people understand how to use it. Copilot is going to be no different to all of that, because as I've referenced, there's a significant amount of power in what Copilot can offer any business. And then, of course, wrapping around everything that we do and we talk about is security. Your internet connection coming in, you need a firewall, you need to secure that, you need to secure your devices, and you need to make sure your data is secured and backed up. And that is a constant conversation that we are having with our customers. All the topics covered just in this particular slide: guidance, strategy, training, adoption, security. There are everyday conversations that we have, because all of these things together ensure that we allow our customers to go out and do what they do best in their particular industries. So Q&A. We are open to questions. If anyone wants to ask any, put them into the chat. More than happy to answer what we can. If we can't answer a question, we'll maybe ask Copilot. any questions at all from anyone on what has been talked about over the last sort of 40 minutes or so?
I'm trying to think of something really technical to ask Gary, but I don't think I could trip you off anyway.
Not on connectivity.
No, you are very much
mean,
the expert.
I don't know if you've got any stats, Charlie, on the uptake just within the SME sector for AI and for Copilot in particular.
I don't, not necessarily on customers. I think what we are seeing, we're seeing a huge amount of customers take on a very small number of licenses. That's the one thing we've noticed, like kind of ones and twos. I think where everyone's doing an awful lot of testing of it. So I think where we're kind of saying you've got like, you test a couple of licenses. If you want to do a proof of concept, do it with kind of 5 to 10 licenses, depending on the size of your organization. Pick one team rather than most people land it with their C-suite. You can do that, but then also land it with, say, like a marketing team, for example, because Copilot is going to be used in different ways with different people within your organization. So a salesperson is going to use it in a really different way from like a finance person, or a HR person will be using it. So it's making sure that you're picking the right teams. We're seeing a lot of financial customers take on Copilot company-wide quite early on. They're starting to see lots and lots of benefits. But yeah, I think those not from like it's X amount of growth or anything like that, because it's a brand new product, so it's going to grow fast because it's brand new. So but yeah, I think those are some of the areas that we're definitely seeing at the moment.
Thank you. And there's a question from one of the guests, David. Hi David, hope you're well. He's questioned or just asked a question about the price of Copilot. It'd be interesting to just get your input on that.
Yeah, it's on top of your license cost. So it's $30 a user per user, $30 per user per month. So yeah, it does seem expensive, but actually, if you think about it, that's $1 a day. And actually, if you're a small business and you can save your employees X amount of hours per week, that actually saves you the cost of actually getting someone else on board, which is a huge big saving. So actually, we're seeing tons and tons of SMB customers take on some licenses at the moment and just assess it. But it needs to be tested for the year. It's an annual license. It does need to be tested. You can't really test it in like 3 or 4 months. You need to have like 3 or 4 weeks. Sorry, you need to have kind of 6 months using it to really understand how it's actually going to benefit you. But yeah, it does seem quite steep on the outset. But actually, if you think about the broader time savings you're actually going to experience, it's not. And actually, I think of the if you go into the work trend index, there's a stat in there. I think I remember it was like 77% of people that used Copilot said they would rather keep that and then get free lunch at work because they found it so useful. And a lot of people, most people, it's like, I'm not going to make up a stat, but most people now, if they said to me, you're going to take that away, but you can do it on salary sacrifice instead, I would do that because it does save me so much time. So once it gets into people's hands, they don't want to give it up.
Yeah, I think it's one of these ones where we can see the power in it, even in your presentation and the slides that you shared with us, Charlie. It's obvious there's a power that's there, and it's then quantifying the time and efficiency savings and the what it allows people to do that they can't do just now, quantifying that financially. And at £25 per month, for example, I can quite easily imagine that would pay for itself, but it would be a high outlay for a lot of businesses to introduce it across their staff. And I think time will tell, and I think it will tell pretty quickly as we see more and more adoption, and we hear about the use cases where people have seen the benefit of it. That will help drive then the adoption throughout both the enterprise industry and the SME sector.
Yeah, absolutely. I think now it's been around for quite a few months. There's more and more, especially some of the partner organisations I work with that have chosen to take it company wide. And we're talking like 2,000 licenses a time that they're doing it because they've done that testing piece. They're starting to see those benefits. But yeah, it's one of our recommendations, like pick where you know it's going to benefit people. So marketing, where they're writing content, or C-suite's a really popular one, but actually make sure the C-suite executive assistants are included in that, because they're the ones that are writing the follow-ups, they're the ones that are doing the follow-up emails, the agendas, they're the ones that are writing all of that. They will really feel the benefit of it. So just being really considerate around who you actually go and test with is so key.
And I think relevant to the conversation we're having is what we've just brought up on screen. So we can get a free Copilot readiness check that's run with assistance from Microsoft. So any business with 30 employees or more can have this readiness assessment completed, and that will just give a bit of an indication of how ready your business is to get the full benefit of Copilot. I'm not sure if there's anything you can add to that, Charlie.
So yeah, this I would 100% recommend. It's free to use. I think, yeah, it would be an absolute no-brainer for me. It's getting an assessment.
And there's one other question from Frederick, thank you, is do you run courses in Copilot Studio and making custom Copilots?
I've got some courses. You caught me off guard because I was just looking for the answer to this. But Frederick, I'm just copy and pasting a link to Microsoft Learn now. There's not, I think there is a Copilot certification exam. I don't think it would be specifically on Studio at the moment, but let me have actually it says there Microsoft Copilot Studio training if you click on that link. But we don't have any kind of fundamentals training at the moment. I think there is a certification on Copilot because it's still quite new. Yeah. We're still waiting for a lot of this to come through.
Yeah, I would expect, as adoption increases and usage increases over the next 6 to 12 months, there'll be plenty different organizations offering training, both Microsoft and other external organizations that have already done their homework and understood how it works. So I think there's probably going to be a little bit of watch this space.
There's quite a few of them around at the moment. Actually, I can share with you who they are, and they'll work with you.
That'd be great, because we will be doing a follow-up email to everybody, kind of recapping on what we've covered today. Claire will be sending that out, and any additional links we can get for Charlie, we'll include in that. And just on this last slide, I think this is this is supplied by Charlie. So thanks again, Charlie. This is a really good example of just how technology is changing and how quickly it's adopted. It's relatively scary when you look at the numbers there, because we all know how big Facebook is. Several billion users throughout the world. That's 4.5 years it took to get to 100 million, and that's just 100 million. And when we see that ChatGPT was 3 months, how quick is the next new technology going to be adopted?
I think what's not on here as well is Instagram was like 2.5 years. TikTok was 9 months, ChatGPT was 3 months. So the gap just gets smaller and smaller.
Yeah. So, and I suppose, just finishing on this slide and what we're talking about in terms of competitive advantage and what Copilot can do for your business, the question maybe becomes more, what if we don't use Copilot, then what can we get from Copilot? It's absolutely going to change things. We can see that from even just, as I say, Charlie's slides and anyone who's maybe had a look. And if you're one of the companies who doesn't adopt Copilot over the next few months and even year or so, given the speed that we can see that things have, ChatGPT got to 100 million users, Copilot's now within, it's a key part of Microsoft's ecosystem. You get a version that's free within Windows 11, getting full use of that. How far are you potentially going to get left behind if you don't engage with and make use of Copilot? Anything there to finish off on that one, Charlie?
No, I'm just finding the link for the Copilot, formerly known as Bing Chat Enterprise, to paste in here, so everyone can get it set up.
Good, excellent. So hopefully that's been of use to everyone. All we look to try and do for these webinars is give people little snippets to take away that are of use to them within their organization. Hopefully we'll be able to achieve that. Very quick recap for me. The internet underpins everything that we do. Without connectivity, we cannot operate as a business. Whether you're using it through the traditional fixed lines to the business or through mobile, it's certainly something that you absolutely need it, which is why we started off the conversation on the PSTN Switch Off. Anything to just complete on there, Gary?
No, I think obviously that's just one part of the bigger picture we're talking about today, and it's a legacy thing because if you think about it, telephone technology goes back to the Victorian age, and it hasn't really changed a lot until now in terms of having two devices at the end of a copper line, enabling people to speak to each other. So it ultimately, telephony is very basic, but it's well overdue for a revamp, and this is very much part of the whole conversation around future proofing and making sure that businesses are ready for whatever comes around the corner next in terms of AI or whatever it is that we're hit with in the next few years. Yeah,
that resilience piece, right? So making sure you've got the best internet connectivity in place, you've got the right operating system in place to get fully supported, that's not leaving you exposed to security risks, and making the best use of the best technology, which Copilot is a key part of that going forward. So I think we can probably wrap up there. Hopefully, as I say, everyone got value for money out of that, or just value, and it was enjoyed, and you've got some snippets to take away to your business. Thank you, Gary, for your input. Thank you, Charlie, for all your very informative input on Copilot itself, and of course, thanks to Claire Anderson for putting all the slides together and making this work. Thank you.
Thank you.
No problem. Thank you for joining us.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.